Hey, it's Derek with Golden Black Radio, and I just came from my local Academy Sports and Outdoors store. The most festive gear of the year is back, guys, at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Don't miss the limited edition Magellan Outdoor Christmas Market Collection only at Academy. Get exclusive 2025 gear and gifts for all your holiday parties, fun family photos, and Christmas morning traditions. Check out the entire collection, from matching PJs and holiday print fishing shirts and dresses to exclusive new Mossy Oak Snowdrift camo styles and more. Shop in-store or at academy.com. Need it fast? Get same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. Let your holiday fun begin with Magellan Outdoors Christmas Market Collection only at Academy.
Welcome to goldenblack.com Saturday Simulcast. Nate Barrett will join me in a second. Also, Brian Newbert as well. Want to thank our sponsors, the Union Club Hotel at Purdue and the Autograph Collection Retreat blends student-run hospitality with resort luxury. Enjoy the spa, Boiler House Prime Dining, and Burke Boilermaker Golf. Perfect for wellness and Purdue fans as well as leisure seekers. Our property offers serene escapes. Book your getaway today. And thanks to our friends at Twin City and the Chariot Automotive Group, Nate Barrett's day job, so to speak, serving Greater Lafayette with the best new and used Jeep selection at TwinCitySuperstar.com. All right, Nate, Purdue goes down in somewhat expected style, but some things we'll hit with Brian Newbert here in a minute. 34-10, just your initial thoughts on what we saw.
Yeah, Alan, I think academic or clinical might be words to describe it by Ohio State, just being who we knew they were. And Jeremiah Smith is a guy in that wide receiver position who's definitely going to be playing on Sundays, made some unbelievable grabs. But, even that situation, Alan, right before the half where they use all their timeouts and then march down the field very clinically to set up a field goal. They're just a great football team, which we knew.
Yeah, no question. All right, we're going to bring Brian Newbert on. And Brian, fresh off of Purdue's romp over Oakland last night and being somewhat facetious. But, Brian, Ohio State, as Nate just said, really good football team, kind of what you expected. I mean, Purdue did do some good things. I think they played hard to the final whistle. But what were your thoughts as you watched this one come down?
Oh, I think it was a controlled burn by Ohio State. I think that from the very get-go of this game, I think they were just managing it. Even when Purdue goes and takes that lead, that 3-0 lead, that short-lived 3-0 lead, you're sitting here thinking, okay, the score just went from 56-3 to 44-3 or, whatever, because you knew Ohio State. It wasn't just the 3-0 lead at the start. It was the end of the first quarter. Purdue still led that game, but you still couldn't have had any illusions that Purdue was going to find a way to win this game. Nor be competitive in this game. And then sure enough, Ohio State was just controlling the tempo of the game, shortening it by taking a lot of time between plays, which is kind of what they do. And then just running the ball, getting Julian Sayin enough opportunities to get his Heisman numbers, and just kind of bleeding the game out. And that's what you can do when you have the best player on the field at every position. And a team that's really invested in being part of Ohio State. What people don't really grasp sometimes about programs like Ohio State is you've got all the talent, yes. You've got the best coaches, yes. But you also have guys on the bottom of that depth chart, in the lower half of that roster, who are understanding that if I waited out at Ohio State and I become a starter as a junior, I'm going to the NFL. So they're playing, for something bigger. They're invested in what they're doing. And programs like this are just really hard to overcome when you're in a situation like Purdue's in right now. And, Purdue's had success against Ohio State in the past because of supreme efforts by elite players. And, Purdue does not have a Ryan Kerrigan. Purdue does not have a Rondell Moore. Purdue does not have the sorts of guys who have been necessary to even be in games like this, even win them.
When you think about this one, Brian, coming off the Michigan game, what do you think Purdue needs to do as we look ahead to this final long road trip to Washington and then back here for the bucket game? What should Purdue fans be thinking about relative to this program with 2 games to go?
Well, it's kind of too bad for Purdue and you don't feel sorry for people who had opportunities to win games.
Yeah.
Didn't. But Purdue wins at Minnesota like they should have. Purdue beats Rutgers like they should have. Suddenly you're sitting here with 4 wins and 2 Big Ten wins, and you're already credibly can say this has been a success. You never know what happens when you experience some success. Maybe it parlays into something else. Maybe you beat somebody you shouldn't have beaten. You were competitive at Michigan last week. Purdue should feel like it can compete with people. Whether it can beat people, it has not shown that it can do that in Big Ten play. But I think Purdue just has to keep generating some positive momentum. Most likely doesn't matter in the win-loss column at this point anymore, but this is still the ground floor of what you're trying to do here. So you want to build the quote-unquote culture, so to speak, even though a lot of these guys are going to go their separate ways after this season. But you just want some stuff to build around here. So if you continue to be competitive with some teams you shouldn't beat, like you were at Michigan last week, you can at least say, hey, that's something.
Yeah. Ryan Brown did some good things early. Purdue had a good short passing game in its one scoring drive that in the first quarter, this field goal drive. But in Ohio State really bottled him up and bottled Purdue up. I thought, I think Brown 10 for 19, 78 yards. Just talk about his play. And also, I think you and I traded texts. I thought Purdue got away from it, and I know Mark Herman talked about in the broadcast, got away from its short passing game. Not that it would have changed the outcome of this football game. I'm not kidding. We're not kidding ourselves here. But for whatever reason, the little dink and dunk stuff worked to some extent early on, was somewhat non-existent for most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look to see if Ohio State started doing something different, but they were pretty up on Purdue's receivers there for a while. I think there were, Purdue tried to hit that deep a couple times. They were kind of lulling them to sleep with that quick passing game to the sideline, and then they threw it vertically a couple times, and every time the ball hit the DB in the back, I think Purdue got a couple flags off of that, but I think Purdue was trying to play off of that. It didn't work, and it's hard to, lull a team like Ohio State to sleep when their athletes are so much better than yours. Purdue has no one on this offense that anyone should be scared of. And that doesn't just mean this guy's going to make this play or that play, but it means the potential that this guy might make this play or that play opens up this guy to make this play or this play. It's just a tough spot Purdue's in from a personnel perspective. George Burren would have made a difference this year. Obviously, you don't have Devin Mockabee anymore. I don't think he would have made a difference today. You just don't have that guy. Like I said before, in the past at Purdue, when you've been able to compete in games like this, you've had a supreme talent. Whether that's David Bell, Rondell Moore, whoever it might be, Drew Brees. Ryan Kerrigan's a defensive player, but same general principle.
Yeah, but he wreaked havoc that day.
Yes, but you just don't have guys with gravity around them, and it just makes it really hard when it's 11 guys against 11 guys straight up versus one or two guys drawing an outsized portion of the opponent's attention that the other guys can benefit from.
Brian, you and I talked a little in the press box about Traymar Harris. He gets targeted twice. He does help draw 2 pass interference penalties against Ohio State today. But, Brian, what do you make of him getting in the action here late in the year?
Yeah, I can't claim to know. I don't go to practice. I don't cover it day-to-day like Tom and Dub do. But, sometimes when you see guys just show up at the end of the year, we are in that sort of zone where you want guys to be happy if you want them to come back. So I sort of wonder if they're not giving him an opportunity, A, to see what he can do, but also to maybe make him feel like he's part of this. And I mean, I'm only speculating. I've seen it happen before where suddenly a guy shows up on the field in the back half of the season. And this was probably a big game for him. He's from Cincinnati. I'm sure, Ohio State's a big deal to him playing against them. But you also have to explore every option here because you need impactful offensive players. So if Traymar Harris could conceivably give you anything in that regard, there's certainly a window of opportunity there. So it could be any number of factors. I'd be interested to know What Barry Odom and Josh Henson would say about that on Monday when they speak to the media. Maybe he's done some good things in practice and just deserved an opportunity. It could be a lot of different things, but he did draw some flags there, and that was helpful, but obviously not nearly enough.
All right, the last question for you before we bring Dub on, Brian. But again, Nate asked a question about where we go from here. But certainly, even the talent pool in this, when you watch a guy like Jeremiah Smith, you watch some NFL. As a Jets fan, but this is a guy that's
former Jets fan. I swear them off every year.
NFL, they talk about it. Well, he's going to be an All-American. He may be an NFL Hall of Famer. I mean, he really is something. I mean, and again, he had 10 catches on 10 targets today. Didn't have to do anything spectacular, though. He had a great catch in the northwest corner of Ross-Age Stadium. But we've seen some good ones here. He's certainly going to rank right up at the top.
Yeah, he's pretty incredible. That's a Justin Jefferson. That's a Jamar Chase level player. It was just a couple of years ago Ohio State brought Marvin Harrison in here, and Marvin Harrison was the best receiver in the country, and a Heisman guy, and a potential top 5 pick. I can't remember where he went, but Marvin Harrison's dropping passes and playing with his food a little bit, and you're like, is that guy really that good? And then Jeremiah Smith comes in here, and it's, damn, that guy is that good. But he doesn't. The funny thing about Ohio State is they bring guys in like that, and they don't stand out as like clearly the guy on their team sometimes. No. Like when you look at some of the receivers they've had, Garrett Wilson has Jackson Smith and Jibo with him. A couple years back, Marvin Harrison has Emeka Egbuka with him. They're filthy rich at that position, and it really is just remarkable. But Jeremiah Smith is a different deal. He is a day one NFL star, and I don't just mean player. I mean star.
I agree.
Very few rookie receivers step right in and make that kind of impact nowadays. Malik Neighbors did a little bit last year. There's a couple of guys. Brian Thomas had a good year last year, but it's hard. It's really hard. But that dude, if he can't do it, nobody can.
All right, Brian, we're going to let you go home and sit by the fire for the evening, which you won't do. But appreciate always your insight, and we'll look forward to your coverage. Big week for you this week. Obviously, going to make the road trip down to Tuscaloosa, and Purdue will take on Alabama on Thursday, as the Boilermakers will have their first really, really big road test for the regular season. Brian, thanks again, and we appreciate it as always.
See you, Brian.
See you guys.
All right, we'll bring Dub in. I do want to, and Dub, thanks after coming out of the press conference, and I know Brian had a chance to listen to anything that earth-shattering that came out of what Coach Barry Odom had to say.
Yeah, I know. I think for the first time, this was primarily because of the questions that were asked, but he really started talking about the future and team building and things of that nature. I think it's the first time all season, excuse me, that he's really looked at or talked about the team building aspect and the transfer portal and recruiting and things of that nature. I think he's kind of been a little hush hush on that, trying to focus on the season, which, I get that's what he's gonna say and what maybe he should say as a coach. But that was the one thing that kind of stood out to me, is for the first time he's starting to talk about the future a little bit more, and something that's going to be here in about a month or so.
Yeah. Dub, we had a chance, both Alan and I listened to Tim Newton's interview with Barry, and he kind of echoed that in the radio interview, really just being complimentary of Ohio State and saying, in essence, that's what we're chasing. So I know you cover what they're doing on the recruiting side very closely, but as you look at that sentiment from Barry, it kind of echoes what you're bringing up, that's where he is in the season now. Is you just showed a team in here at Ross City, that's what you want to become. Yeah,
and I feel like every time Purdue plays in Ohio State and Michigan, last year when they played Oregon, I think that's what Purdue fans always say, is like that's where they want Purdue to be, right? And Purdue hasn't been at that level. So, it's going to take a long time and a lot of hard work for Purdue to get to that point. to where they're consistently a national championship contender. But and I don't know if anyone that watches this or follows this program is necessarily expecting that, as long as they're reasonable. But Purdue's going to have to start making steps in the right direction starting next year. I think, if you can get a win or two down the stretch, good for you. But that's not something that you would necessarily expect. So I think this upcoming portal period is going to be huge for them and the future of the Odom era in West Lafayette.
I was going to say, I'm doing a little weather report. The weather, which is supposed to turn bad here in West Lafayette in the next few hours at Iowa City, it's already hitting Oregon, leading Iowa at 9-7. It's rain turning to snow. So that part of it is good. Okay.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, we have. We do get some questions when we get them asked. We do encourage you out there that we've got a good crowd here tonight. Ask some questions. Shango's always ready to ask questions. But and I'm going to ask Dub, do you think it's time to play QB2? I thought that it was just interesting when they put Singleton in the one drive. That was unfortunate because that didn't work out. And obviously Singleton leads him to a touchdown in mop-up time. I don't think it's time to switch quarterbacks, but any talk about that even in post game, or what are your thoughts on that too, Dub?
No, I think if they were going to make a change, it would have been after the Northwestern game, and they haven't done that. So, I thought Ryan Brown looked really good that first drive, and then last week against Michigan, he really just took what Michigan gave him, and I thought we were going to see more of that today. It didn't quite go that way, but I think Purdue's been pretty consistent in terms of saying Ryan Brown's a starter and Ryan's our guy, and Malachi Singleton with his play has earned more of those kind of specialty snaps in short yards and the goal line and things of that nature. But I don't see them making a move over these next two games, and I would anticipate them building up Ryan Brown to be their guy for the future. Obviously we don't know that for sure. With the upcoming portal period. But it looks to me like a program that wants to build up Ryan Brown in his first year as a starter and potentially move forward with him in 2026 and beyond.
When we look at the receiving core today, Dub, we see Antonio Harris. He gets 3 targets. Jackson gets 3, 6 for Tuggle, 2 for Traymar Harris, 1 for Rico Walker. Jesse Watson gets 3, and then Horton picks up with 1 target. What do you see there in terms of who Purdue's looking at and who might have slipped? The reality as the season's going on, we're seeing less of an Armand Branch.
Yeah, and we've never gotten a reason to why Armand Branch fell out of favor at Purdue. He's a guy that, as we all saw, he burst onto the scene the first couple of weeks of the year, and a guy that I thought could have been that third starter for him. Just hasn't gone that way, and we really haven't gotten an explanation as to why. Nitro Tuggle, I think he's the key for that receiving room. I think he has to be the guy that steps up and becomes that go-to number 1 clear-cut target, and he just hasn't this year. I feel like he's been very inconsistent. He had the miscommunication with Ryan Brown. I think it was on the first, second drive of the game. It looked like a double move, and they stopped. It was an odd looking route to me. But I think he's the one that needs to step up and be consistent, and moving into next year, potentially, be that number 1 guy that Purdue desperately needs, because they don't really have one right now.
All right, West Coast correspondent, Nancy Nell, happens to be my sister, talks about University of Washington, another winnable game. I don't know about that, but it's hard to we've asked Tom this, we've asked Brian this down the line. The term moral victory, or terms of what is the standard here for these next 2 weeks? We've played now through half of the gauntlet in November. I thought it looked like, from my vantage point, Purdue played hard to the final whistle. That's important. That's the first step of getting improvement. But did Barry Odom address any of that, and what do you think about that whole situation?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Well, just the whole idea that, is playing hard and to the final whistle the first thing that you're going to measure here for the last 2 weeks, because you'll be a 3-touchdown underdog next week and probably a 4-touchdown underdog against Indiana.
Okay. No, actually Tom asked him about, if he was pleased with the fight in this team. And he said that, they're taking steps in the right direction and it's kind of a work in progress, which I don't think that's necessarily something that you want to hear if you're Purdue, or something that you want to see if you're Barry Odom and the coaching staff, right? I think at some point, close losses are close losses, and you can kind of talk your way into being positive about those, especially when they come against a team like Michigan, or if it were to happen against Notre Dame or Ohio State or Indiana. I think some of those schools, if you lose by a touchdown or 3 points or whatever it may be, I think that is a positive. That is a step in the right direction, because you're not, no one's expecting you to go out there and win. I think where you kind of lose me with that, though, is some of the games that they let slip away, like Minnesota, like Rutgers, the Northwestern game where they just didn't show up at all in Evanston. I think those types of games are the ones where, if you're going to be competitive in these bigger time games, you got to win those. Just to show progress. And I think it's pretty clear that Purdue has made progress in areas this season. And I don't know if people are still going to believe that if these next couple of weeks go the way that a lot of people think they will. I think Washington's a really good team. I think they're a dark horse team to, sneak up there and potentially be in that college football playoff discussion, maybe slightly on the outside looking in, but I think they're good enough to get themselves in that conversation. And then Indiana, they almost had a slip up at Penn State today, but they came out with a win, and that's going to be a big time game too. So Purdue's got 2 more really tough games, and but there's always a fighting chance in college football.
Yeah. Dub, on the defensive side, we talk about Powell and Correa every week. Taj Rael with 10 tackles today. And then I think another couple of guys, as the season's gone on, that we talk about more and more, is Slusher and Nunnally. But who do you see on defense? Here's a guy that's emerged that we weren't talking about first week of the season.
I think Nunnally has been a godsend for that pass rush. And he's a guy that I don't know how Tom felt about him, but when Purdue first signed him, I was like, okay, there's your top pass rusher right there. And then it took him a little while to just get comfortable in the scheme and maybe just to the level of play of the Big Ten Conference. But he's really taken off ever since that Southern Illinois game. Really, I thought Breon Ishmael played well today. Got maybe his most run he's gotten all season. I'll have to look at the snap counts tomorrow on Pro Football Focus, but had a sack and a tackle for loss. I think Vanaz Cobb as well. That's a guy that the coaches talked about last week on Monday, or this past Monday. And then Barry kind of mentioned him in the post-game presser. He's a true freshman, and he's getting legitimate run on the back end of that defense. So Purdue's got some guys that have kind of stepped up. I know it hasn't necessarily helped across the board just in terms of overall production, but they've had some bright spots in that regard.
All right, Dub. Hey, thank you for your comments and all your work for Gold and Black. I guess I do want to hit one last thing. A lot of recruits here today. A lot of talk about what I know. Chad got a lot of pictures down there. We'll have to work our way through to figure out who everybody is. But any quick comment on Purdue recruiting? Yeah,
so I haven't talked to any of the recruits yet. I'll do that tomorrow and have some stuff out tomorrow or Monday as usual. But there's some big time names. Jace Brewer's 4-star edge rusher from Franklin Central down in Indianapolis. So he's one of their top guys in the 2027 class. Dewey Young, a 4-star offensive lineman in the 2027 class, a guy that I've had my eye on for a while. Ben Musser, he's a 4-star quarterback out of Georgia. And Purdue's really pushing for a 2027 quarterback, and that's a spot where you need to get him earlier rather than later. So we'll see how that visit went with him. And excuse me. And then had a couple of flip targets on campus. Cooper McCutcheon, he was committed to North Carolina. He just backed off his pledge on Wednesday or Thursday, and then quickly said in an unofficial to Purdue. And then Dane Bathurst, who we've written about plenty of times over the last month or so, committed to Duke, Carmel, Indiana native, and he was on campus for the second time in the last 3 weeks. So those are two flip targets to keep an eye out for, and what will be very, very entertaining and busy in the last month until National Early Signing Day, to say the least.
All right, Dub, thanks again, and we'll look forward to more of your work on the site here, not only tonight, but throughout the rest of it. It's going to be a busy time in the portal as well when that hits. All right, we will bring in Tom Dienhart here, and Tom, I'll let Nate ask the first question, and then we'll get into discussion about this one.
Tom, I'm interested in your take on what you see depth chart wise, who's rising, who's falling, with 2 more games to go and a big road trip.
Oop, did we not get you there, Tom? You hearing us? Hello.
Oh, you got me, buddy? Sorry about that.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Nate,
No
restate your question.
Tom, I just want to see what you are looking at when you look at this depth chart, guys that are rising on it or falling. We talked earlier with Brian about Traymar Harris getting a couple of looks today. Just what you see there of what you think Barry Odom and the staff might be trying to do and elevate some guys, get them some time.
I've had multiple people tell me on the staff, and they've said it in media sessions, that playing time's earned, and they're not just going to run guys out there to see what they've got. Hey, the season's over. Let's see what our redshirt freshman Nate Barrett's got. It's meritocracy, I think, was the word that was passed along to me. You earn your playing time during practice. If you excel in the game, you continue to play. It's pretty simple. And but we have seen some new faces of late. That must tell you that they're doing something in practice. You mentioned Traymar Harris. I heard Dub talking about Cobb, the safety from St. Louis as well. Those were a couple of younger guys we haven't seen a lot of late that have sort of had a little bit of a larger role. So, yeah, just still a lot of work to, you know, Barry Odom had a lot of good things to say about Ohio State. They do what Purdue wants to do it, eventually at some point. But I tell you what, it's kind of interesting. I asked Barry, is the team still fighting? Is it still competing? And there was a real long pause, almost an awkward pause. I thought maybe he didn't hear my question, but he eventually did answer. And his answer was, I think we're showing progress in that category, but he said we're still chasing what it looks like every single day. So there you go. And we talked, I think, leading into this game, what's victory going to look like? Because none of us thought Purdue was going to win. Victory, what would that look like? And we thought, well, victory would look like competing, not quitting. I think we saw a lot of fight in this team today, and you have to take heart in that for a team mired in this losing streak that's still fighting and still competing and still scrapping against a very daunting schedule.
Yeah, Dustin Blythe asked a question, which I don't know if I have a good answer to, but Purdue does get its share of an eligible lineman downfield. I don't know what's causing that. I know Joey Tenoda got caught in that last week. I don't know if he did it again this week. I'm not sure what the issue is, because sometimes they're on those little screen passes or whatever, and it has caused some problems from that standpoint. All right, you've seen Ohio State come here many, many times, and there have been so many great players. I asked this question of Brian, but Ohio State is very clinical in what they do, and Justin, Julian's, I keep saying Justin saying, there's T-shirts out there, which I thought they'd have just saying, Julian saying. I think I said that all week, though, unfortunately. But they're really good. I mean, they obviously just they're like surgeons out there. They just go out and do what they have to do, and Purdue did not disrupt a lot of that. I mean, they did shut them out in 2 quarters today. That's pretty good. But talk about them, and obviously Indiana barely survives, but Fernando Mendoza had his Heisman moment, maybe, if he gets to that. But this is a very, very good Ohio State team that I would expect will be in making a run at least the Final Four and probably the national championship game.
If Nate Barrett unzips his jacket, you'll see a Julian Saint T-shirt on, I think.
I know, yeah, but just saying, I was at a tailgate party with somebody wearing that today, and it was impressive.
But yeah, now I've already, I forgot what Alan asked me, but
no, we've watched Ohio State, and they always bring great talent in here.
Good.
This is a very, very, very good
same
talent.
Song,
very
different
talented.
verse. Same song, different verse. Rinse, wash, repeat. It's Ohio State. Somebody told me a long time ago, hey, he goes, well, Tom, when you and I are dead, 20, 30 years later, it's going to be the same 15 teams in the top 25 as there are now.
Yeah.
So no shock. We all know built-in advantages that some of these programs have. And Ohio State certainly takes advantage of theirs. A lot of heft behind it from a financial standpoint and a resource standpoint. So yeah, I'm not sure if this is a vintage Ohio State team. It's very good. Their ability to run the football is a little spotty. And but the defense, that's going to keep you there, right? The defense and the play of the quarterback you talked about, maybe the Heisman front runner. The Ohio State SID was kind of making sure we knew that, and the big playability on offense. Every time they drop back to pass, you kind of hold your breath if you're a Purdue fan.
Yeah.
And your eyes scanning downfield for a wide open wide receiver. They had a decent amount of big plays today, guys, big chunk plays. And Jeremiah Smith, get this, he went over 100 yards receiving. I mean, there have been a litany of receivers: Jacoby Lane, Hank Beatty of Illinois, Jordan Faison of Notre Dame, KJ Duff, the great KJ Duff of Rutgers, guys, receivers that have burned Purdue for over 100 yards receiving this year. And of course, Jeremiah Smith is the latest. What a special talent. Carnell Tate didn't even play.
Yeah. He was available though. But they kept him out.
Yeah,
so.
Guys, and we talk about lack of explosiveness for Purdue's offense, and man, I tell you what, the numbers continue to get dreary and drearier. Again, this is a very good defense they played today, number 1 in the country, but now Purdue in Big Ten play is just averaging 16 points per game. They've only scored over 20 points once in the last 4 games, and again, that lack of big playability, that lack of explosiveness continues to be glaring. Just real quick too, the numbers stood out to me when you look at big plays and you look at Purdue. These are passes. How many passes did Purdue have over 15 yards today? 1. How many runs did Purdue have for over 10 yards today? 3. So there you go. I mean, the Ohio State numbers obviously are the opposite. So that the inability to get those big plays just kills you, especially in a game like this against an opponent like Ohio State.
Yeah, put those numbers up there on the board there. Pretty astounding that 2 scoring drives, Purdue 145 yards in offense, the rest of the game 39.
You get the first quarter they had 85 yards and they finished the game with 186 yards.
Yeah.
So there you
that's
go.
Pretty stunning. So,
Tom,
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom Nunnally. Let's talk about CJ and his play. A guy we maybe weren't talking about a lot at the beginning of the year. We touched on this with Dub, but when you look at him and some of the other guys defensively, a couple of them, Palin Correa, they've been there all the way. But who's coming up? Who's coming up defensively that here's a guy they need to hang on to and make a part of this for next year?
Yeah, Akron. He started his career at Jackson State Tiger in the SWAC, and then he went to Akron, and he's been obviously a boon. I didn't envision him having this type of a role. He began the year as a backup. Remember, the starting defensive ends were C.J. Madden and Trey Smith, and neither of those guys even start now.
Yeah.
So you got C.J. Nunnally, and you got Breon Ishmael starting at the other end spot. So, yeah, boy, the INT today in the end zone, and remember, Ohio State had the touchdown call back on the first play of the game too. On
yes.
On that long run. But guys who are, I think they got to keep Adari Hines, the cornerback number 4 from Franklin Central in Indianapolis. I think that's a guy they probably will keep, and they're going to try to keep. Those safeties are seniors; they're gone. Tony Grimes is gone. Manny Powell's gone. Charles Correa, who we saw carted off today in the second half. Right, I asked Barry about him; he didn't have any update.
Yeah.
Very, very disconcerting to have. Him carted off, the real heart and soul of the team. So we'll have to see what injury he sustained, but that's a guy you got to keep if you're Purdue for sure.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, up front, there's a couple cogs there. I think they really want to keep the big guy in the middle, Chops Harkless. Some people on staff tell me he's a pro, and best nose tackle since Lorenzo Neal. And I know some people may have mixed reviews of Lorenzo Neal, but when he was healthy,
Lorenzo was a different dude.
he was a different guy. But they think a lot of Chops, and then the kid from Arkansas State, Ian Jeffries. He was just a bit player early on, but has really come on this year after the TJ Lindsey injury. That's another guy I think they want to try to keep too. So those are some building blocks defensively of guys who have eligibility left. Again, not only has no eligibility left. Madden's a guy. I guess those guys that are just guys, and do you want to take them back or not? I don't know. But Madden's got eligibility. Trey Smith has eligibility, and Breon Ishmael does too. But I think the guys I mentioned before will be higher priorities: Harkless, Jeffries, and Hendary Hines and Charles Correa for sure. Those guys have to be players they have to retain and can be foundational for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, you've talked a little bit about this, and we don't know specifics, and we never take anybody that if somebody's not going to have their job next year on the staff. But I asked Tom if you think they'll make a change at coordinator with Henson or Shear, and I'll jump out in front and said I would be shocked, but who knows? But there may be some moves on the coaching staff from what you understand.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of some of the early speculation. I think. I don't think there'll be any changes at coordinator. I think Josh Henson will be back to run the offense, Mike Shear to run the defense, and without a doubt, the special teams coach too, James Shebist. Now the rest of the staff, I think maybe there could be some tweaks there. That's just something for fans to sort of keep on your radar. Not out of the ordinary, right? Yeah. A lot of staffs have coaching changes, especially staffs that may end up going 2-10. So, again, that's something that has moving forward here into December. If moves are going to be made, I imagine that they're going to be made pretty swiftly here. Remember how many moves Jeff Brom had? Every year he had 2 or 3 coaching changes. He had about 4 special teams coaches. So, again, not abnormal here. And Barry's always looking to make his product better. And he's on the line. He's the ultimate. The buck stops with him. So he wants to make sure he has the best guys in the best position. So, yeah. That's always something for fans to be mindful of right now as far as moving forward and looking toward 2026.
Yeah. Nate, if you have a final question for Tom, I put you on the spot. Anything else you want to add?
My final question, Tom, is what kind of burger are you buying me in Seattle next Saturday night?
That's right. You're making the trip too, right, Nate?
Yeah, Rob's tied up, so Tom's got to buy me.
Nate Barrett?
Yeah, Tom's got to buy me dinner because Rob, between Alabama and Akron games, he can't make it.
Wow, Nate Barrett's going to be in the Emerald City. Yeah, I don't know. If you're going out there, you got to get some salmon. That's what you got to get in Seattle. You got to get some salmon.
We got to find a place, Tom.
Get a nice.
And you got to take your computer. Well, you may. So Nate, you're off next week then for the post game show because you're going to be hustling to the airplane to go home. I assume.
If I'm on, it'll be from my phone, walking through security.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. I don't know how we're going to do a show without Nate.
Yeah, I love Nate, man. So yeah, what a great city, and yeah, you'll get no shortage of great restaurants there. But yeah, I always over the years, salmon's been my go-to when I've gone out there. In a place called Ivar's, Ivars.
Cool.
It's kind of a place. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun going out there. And another challenge, number 24 team in the country. And how about the juicy storylines? How about the juicy storylines?
Yeah.
Ryan Walters, and this dude, Barry Odom's youngest brother's on that staff.
Yeah.
How about
There'll
that?
Be some of that.
How about
some
that?
Of that.
So
Ryan's going to send you. I thought maybe Ryan would take you to dinner.
Well, I don't know. I think you know what? I think I'm going to reach out to Ryan this week, and I don't know.
Well, he was nice. He did the exit interview with you, which I think was our top read story last year on goldenblack.com. So good for Ryan on that front.
Credit for him. You know what I figure? All she can do is say no. It's sort of like Nate Barrett in high school asking a girl out. All she can do is say no. So why not go at least ask? That was my philosophy too. I'd rather know yes or no than one. What if they would have said yes about asked?
Thank God Brandy said yes. Now we don't know how much coaxing he had to do, but she said yes.
You're right, Tom. If you don't ask, it's a 0% chance.
Exactly right, man. You got to ask, and if they say no, so be it. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I hope I can get on the field before the game. Sometimes schools don't let you do that. So yeah, I'm just kind of worried already about the travel out there at the airports, but I don't want to go into those weeds.
Yeah.
But Tom, don't you think? I mean,
Nate's got to give me a seat. Nate's got to get me a seat on the
that
charter.
10%.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
You talk about storylines, Tom. Before we let you go, don't you think for Barry Odom, there's a little extra juice to this one? Your last chance on the road. Ryan Walters is a defensive coordinator out there. I mean, you want this one bad if you're Barry Odom.
Yeah, at least
for sure. And, they're buddies. I mean, they coached on the same staffs before, so yeah, they're very familiar with each other. I remember when Ryan got the job, I called Barry and he gave me a quote on Ryan. So yeah, there's a lot of familiarity there between these two guys. And you're right, Nate. Boy, if you're gonna just win one more game, I mean, you want to win the bucket game, but man, to beat the guy who used to have your job would be terrific. So yeah, this program, obviously, it's a vast understatement to say could use a boost of any sort, and a victory like that would be titanic as you're heading toward the end of the season.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. Hey, thanks so much for your insight. It'll be you and me next week, and Dub and probably Brian. Though it's gonna be a late night.
And real quick too, I'm gonna be the only media member.
That's what I understand.
Seattle. It's just gonna be me and Barry after the game, drinking coffee.
That will be
comparing notes.
You guys can do the Tom Dienhart waltz. That'll be perfect.
How about that?
Yeah, we look forward to that.
He can't dodge my questions. I'm gonna be the only guy there.
Yeah, all right. There you go. And that is a truism, as we understand, with all going on. That's a wonderful example of how goldenblack.com and Tom Dienhart are so committed to bringing you the best. That's a shameless plug for us, but no, we're glad that you're going to be out there, and that's important as this program tries to get some traction, and who knows, maybe out in Washington they'll be able to do so. So Tom, have a great rest of your evening, and get ready for the snow that's supposed to hit here. Get the the batten down the hatches. Make sure you do that, and we'll.
I'm ready for the cold weather, guys. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you look ready. You look ready.
Best.
Yeah, no, all right, Nate Barrett. Last comment from you. Again, a not a surprising loss, but some things to look at that you can build on. But Ohio State's a really good football team.
Yeah, Alan, as we talked at the beginning of the show, very clinical performance by the Buckeyes, just what you expected. When you look ahead for Purdue in these final 2 weeks, Alan, you want to have something for fans to feel like the Boilermakers did make some progress in the back part of the season. The Minnesota and Rutgers losses will always be something you'll remember about this year, but you have one more opportunity to try to pull an upset on the road, and Boilermaker fans, I'm sure, are hoping that Purdue shows up in a fashion where they can pull that upset next Saturday night.
All right, have a great week at Chariot Automotive Group, and
Thank
even
you.
a better trip out west. It's always going to be fun to go out there. And I don't know, have you been out there before?
I was out there about 8 years ago in the summer, so I haven't been out there this time of year.
Yeah, I have never been to Seattle, so I'll go another year without getting out there. But hopefully it'll be a fun trip, and Purdue will play well. So Nate, thanks again, and we appreciate everything. We always enjoy it. It's a breath of fresh air that we get to do this still. So we appreciate that. All right, we want to thank Nate Barrett before I cut him off, but I'm not really good at this StreamYard thing, or as good as I should be, but we have a lot of fun doing it anyway. We appreciate all of you for taking the time to join us. I want to thank the Union Club Hotel, obviously is a great sponsor of this program. Also, Twin City and Chariot Automotive Group, serving Greater Lafayette with the best new and used Jeep selection at TwinCitySuperstore.com. Now, keep in mind, if you're a goldenblack.com YouTube subscriber, PU1 will get you a subscription to goldenblack.com, which is really a great idea. We're getting close to the holidays. Perfect gift for somebody. 2 months for just $1. You can join literally the thousands of people that are a part of our site. We appreciate them. And also, if you can get the chance, make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a positive review. We appreciate that. No matter which platform you watch or listen this to on, we would appreciate you doing that. as well. So have a great weekend, rest of your Saturday for those of you that are watching us live, and those of you that are on replay. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll look forward to Tuesday Golden Black Radio. We will also have Tuesday night live. I think we'll probably do it Tuesday since Brian will be traveling down to Tuscaloosa. Brought to you by Acre Pro. We'll do that too. So have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for taking the time to watch and listen.
Hey, college football fans, it's time to lock in on those Saturday showdowns with BetMGM. Whether you're betting the underdog or riding with the favorite, take your excitement to the next level with a college football odds boost token. Log into your BetMGM account to receive your token. Then place a bet on any college football matchup with your activated token. If your boosted bet hits, you'll score a bigger payout. Claim your odds boost token and be sure to activate it before placing your bet. The game is about to kick off, so feel the rush and own the moment. BetMGM, make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 and over only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.